there.
America.
Welcome back to the game room.
Yes, where we celebrate Resident Evil 3 Day, September 28th. Daylight. The monsters have overtaken the city. Somehow, I'm still alive.
This is so weird to be recording on this day.
It is. So,
it's actually weirdly appropriate, too.
Yes.
But go ahead.
I actually got to thank Dave and Vicky for picking this day on the schedule because, I didn't even realize the association until this morning when I posted my status. And then I'm like, oh, they picked the best day to record this episode.
I'd love to tell you it's an intentional, but nah, it's just because I had to get through Rosh Hashanah first.
It's not like it matters. By the time I get this uploaded, it's not going to be the 28th anymore.
Oh, well, we're still recording on the day. That's all that matters.
Yes.
I have to actually give an apology. Cape May Brewing Company finally released their Oktoberfest.
And that's all the egg on Will's face.
Yeah, they released it like a week and a half after I complained about it. And they released it in copious amounts, and it's just as good as it was last year. But it is a little worrying that they got stalled this year due to all the new staff. So I'll forgive them for now. But you're on thin ice, Cape May Brewing Company. You're on thin ice.
Just like if a girl doesn't get her pumpkin spice in the first week of July. Goddamn.
Look, Will gave me some of it, and I have to say it's not bad.
What do you mean not bad? It's great. By the way, Vicky, speaking of pumpkin spice, I am now a basic white girl as well.
I'm happy.
I went grocery shopping at Sam's Club the other week, and they have those big 2-ounce bags of coffee from Starbucks, and it was $15. So I'm like, you know what? This is as much as I would pay for a pound of coffee at the place in Reading Terminal where I normally get it. So I got it, and I got the pumpkin spice variety. And I drink my coffee black anymore. And I gotta say, for as much as I've hated on Starbucks for years, if you just drink their coffee black, it's really good. It's actually really good quality coffee. It's just, when I've had it with all the syrups and sugar added in, it's just disgusting.
Occasionally, all of it, being,
milkshake.
laden down with, it's weird. The sweeteners lend this weird artificial flavor to it, and even though I love the pumpkin spice latte regardless, I gotta agree with you. Sometimes, I even have some syrups here at home. I have a tiramisu flavored syrup, and it's sugar-free, calorie-free, but at the same time, I'm it lends this weird artificial, sickly sweetness to it that kind of puts me off a little.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because, the other day, I decided to try an experiment because there's a Starbucks on the way into work, and I already made my coffee, but I didn't have a cup at home, so I'm like, well, let me get coffee from Starbucks, and I have a mug that I drink out of. It's a big 20-ounce mug,
Nice.
and my thermos is a big 24-ounce thermos, so I fill that up with coffee in the morning, and I usually take that in and just drink it in the morning when I get in. So I bought a Starbucks pumpkin spice latte because, again, basic white girl over here. I poured maybe 4 ounces of it into the mug, and I poured the black coffee. I'm like, well, I'll even it out so it's not as sugary and sweet and everything. Yeah, 4 ounces of the syruped up coffee did not darken in appearance when I poured in about 16 ounces of black coffee. I'm like, wow, all right, Starbucks, how much are you adding?
And this is why you drink Dunkin', kids.
Or at least get it without the sweeteners at it, you know?
This experiment was not without its consequences. When I came over to Will's house the other day to record, I found him wearing Ugg boots and yoga pants. And I was like, dude, what happened to you?
Tina was very uncomfortable.
I think that's an outdated meme now, though.
Tina was very uncomfortable.
They have a new wardrobe now.
Tina was very uncomfortable because I was only wearing yoga pants, and boy, were they tight.
I will say yoga pants, for all the shit that they get, they're actually super comfortable, and they were one of the approved things of leg wear that you could wear where I was working before. And I am not a small person. In height, yes, but they weren't necessarily tight, thankfully, because I sized them correctly, but they were comfortable, and they could take a lot of fucking abuse for thin, cottony bastards. So fuck yeah, yoga pants, fuck yeah, leggings. I'm still on the fence about Uggs because I heard that they melt in the snow, and I'm just like,
Oh yeah, no.
no.
Uggs have earned their hatred. Uggs earned their hatred. They're not like Crocs who don't deserve the shit they get.
Crocs absolutely deserve the shit that they get.
No, they are functional and they work. Uggs, like you said, dissolve in the snow. They exist to die as fast as possible, so you go out and buy a new pair.
Wear some fucking Crocs outside when it rains, motherfucker, and you talk to me. Further,
You're not supposed to wear them when it rains.
Further, I want to point out that I had a really bad experience at our college with a dude who was wearing Uggs. I'm minding my own business, dealing with some Windows Vista updates, so I've clearly dated myself. Dealing with some Windows Vista updates. This guy, he says, I'm not flirting with you or anything, but your shoulders look really tense. I can, massage those for you. And I'm like, I don't know your name. And dude was wearing full fucking Crocs with socks. And I'm not saying the two are related.
I mean,
oh no!
You said you had a bad experience with a guy wearing Crocs and socks. Has anyone ever had a good experience with a guy wearing Crocs and socks?
Actually, yes.
And that's the thing. You're not supposed to wear Crocs with socks. What the fuck?
I had a good experience with one dude. Actually, on Temple's campus, he was like a thin dude, but like, apparently I had dropped my wallet leaving class, and he caught up to me and he gave it back, and there was nothing missing from it. So, kudos to that guy. He was actually pretty chill.
So wait, when he walked away, you don't know.
No,
like
he wasn't.
Horse?
He wasn't doing that.
They fucking make those ungodly slapping sound. Like, what the fuck?
For a second, I thought you were implying that the cast of Monty Python gave you back your wallet.
I would say that sounds like it, honestly.
I didn't see him holding a pair of coconuts, so no, I don't think that was it.
But yeah, no, Croc sock dude from my experience, he's like, I promise I'm not flirting with you, just I'm really good at rubbing backs, adjust glasses. Let me do it! And I'm like,
did he sit there and go, let me touch your skin?
Fairly close, but not quite.
That guy does not know how to tsundere.
Was the guy like Milady, like tip tat?
He very much came off like a Milady type.
Thick neck
No, he
beard
was. I'm gonna now date all of you and make you all feel the ravages of time. Steve, that guy would have been doing that 2 years later.
And I just need to say something. I just need to say something. I feel like if I added this,
I see you, Dave.
I feel like if
I see you, Dave.
But I feel like if I added this dude to my Facebook, he would have skinned me and made people bacon.
That is, oh god, yeah. Yeah.
Don't trust a dude with Crocs and socks or Crocs in general. Or
because otherwise you
Uggs.
get people bacon.
Yeah, no, dude, like, I could see that dude just pulling out a fucking vegetable peeler and being like, just let me.
Well, no, because you want your bacon to be...
Can you remove the tension in your shoulders? I can remove the tension in your shoulders.
No, dog, you're trying to remove the tendon in my shoulders. You're trying to remove the tendon, okay? Get the fuck up off of me. By the way, zombies, yeah.
Hey, you can't have tendon in your shoulders if you don't have shoulders.
You know, it's... Wow. You know,
What if
he's out of line, but he's right.
What if he pulled out that massage gun that they sell now? It was like a prototype.
So, fun story about those. I've only...
Wait.
Gas powered.
Sorry, I just want to say, he's the type of dude who would have pulled out... You know what? Never mind, I'm not going to make the joke.
I know where you're going!
If you don't, I will.
Oh,
okay,
no.
he's the type of dude who would pull out a fucking to start whacking me with it, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Good with that right across the shoulders.
Ah!
Oh boy, we're really...
God, somebody please cut that out.
We're diving deep today, aren't we?
Okay, all right, well, if we want to change subjects, we could talk about...
No, we're not.
All right, so last podcast was the Kamen Rider episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Dave, I need you to let me know where I could get started on modern Kamen Rider, where it would be a good natural fit for someone new to the...
You should just start right now with like the latest show, because there's only 4 episodes.
Yeah, you can start with the latest show. I will warn you, the latest show is... It is a unique, interesting kind of dark in that it's It's basically Kamen Rider Squid Games.
So I saw you and Steve talking about it in the Discord, and I Googled it because I'm like, is this a good starting point? And I couldn't tell. But kind of the impression that I got from the description I read on Wikipedia, it kind of sounds like if Kamen Rider took place in the Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's universe.
A bit. Although, honestly,
yeah.
although the funny thing is there was literally a season called Drive, which was kind of like that, but that was about robots and AI and shit. I would honestly, if you want a good starting series, like something you can just binge, because Geats is, like Steve said, coming out.
Right,
and you're going to get...
You gotta wait once a week, you know?
That's fine. I don't mind that. I like having something to look forward to, but what's a series I could binge while waiting for Geats to come out?
You can
Decade
binge
double, baby.
Yeah, binge double so you can start watching the anime that's only 9 episodes in.
Okay.
And then everything after double is pretty good too. Like O's is really good. That's the one that's right after it. Forze is awesome. Like,
Forze
I
is
love
great,
Forze.
and it's Forze is great, lighthearted, and written by the same dude who wrote Gurren Lagann.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that makes all the sense in the
that
world,
sells it
because
for me.
that whole show is just hype shit. We're like, yeah, boy, we're going to space.
See,
Wizard was good if a bit rote. Gaim's fucking insane.
So the reason why
I had the drop Gaim.
The reason
'cause
why
I couldn't deal with it.
The reason why I'm asking about Kamen Rider is because so on Netflix, I noticed that they have like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on there, and I'm like, I'll take this trip down memory lane. Like, let me rewatch it from the beginning, because it's been like, 20-something years since I last saw this show? And I intended to get to the part where they introduced Tommy the Green Ranger, and I had to give up when they introduced the Terror Toad, because I'm like, this is too bad. I can't stand...
Yeah. They're not really the same show, though, as we talked about in the podcast.
Right, I'm just saying, like, I wanted to see... the nostalgia bomb, and boy, was there no nostalgia, and was it all bomb. Kids, don't revisit your childhood. It's not worth it.
Unless it's Arthur the Aardvark, which is great.
Watching Geats and getting back into Kamen Rider has been really enjoyable. Like, the story is really interesting. I mean, granted, they are copying Squid Game, but to frame it in a Kamen Rider thing.
But it's a good thing to copy and frame in a Kamen Rider belt.
Yeah, I think so too. And I'm wondering if this will be a spoiler, so I'm not going to say it. But
can you send me a link to where you're watching it? Because I need to find a place to watch it.
Yeah, sure, no problem. I mean, you can just get on my Plex, because I throw everything on there now. I don't really download anything to my computer anymore. I just put it on my Plex.
Let's talk tomorrow, and I can maybe get on your Plex, and I'd be happy to drag stuff so I can watch it on my TV.
Sure, no problem.
Oh, your Plex is accessible outside your home network?
Yeah, it's anywhere. It's actually based out of Canada. Like I rent like a server. And that's where I do it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh,
I thought Plex was something that you had to set up on your own NAS, but
no, you can
wrong.
you can set it up anywhere, because it's basically it just sits on on a computer, like any computer, and they have it they sell services where they just you just rent server space, and I get 2 terabytes.
Okay, so it's more like a Dropbox type thing.
Yeah, and it's and I have gigabit upload and download, so I get stuff really fast, and I have it set up so some things auto download. I'll say hey, look for this movie to come out when it releases, and it'll just constantly monitor sites to look for it and download it. And then for example, Blonde came out today, the Marilyn Monroe biopic on Netflix. And it just downloaded it while I was at work. So I came home and I just started watching it.
Remember, kids, piracy is an issue of access.
Yeah, it always is. Always has been. So
I mean, anyway. Steve just said it came out on Netflix, but okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, I don't have Netflix anymore. I did it through the Plex.
So before we jump into the topic tonight, a few quick announcements because it happened a couple weeks ago. Happy belated birthday, Dave.
Thank you.
Happy belated birthday, Vicky.
Thank you.
Happy belated birthday, Mrs. Silberman.
My mom says thank you.
And happy belated birthday to me. Also introducing my new buddy, Wonky Fred. Natalie made it for me.
Precious.
That's cool.
He literally cannot stand up on his own because he just wobbles over. So whenever I stand him up anywhere, he has to be leaning on something. So I don't know if you could see it, but this arm is down. This arm is up because that's the side he leans on, and it looks like he's just like, "Hey, I'm Wonky Fred. I'm just hanging out at the water cooler to chat with you."
He's just like the Fonz at the
And
Will,
Will,
like,
I didn't get a chance
Careless
to.
Whisper starts playing.
Yeah, Will, I'm sorry I didn't text this to you back when it was your birthday. However, happy birthday to you. This is the accompanying striptease that'll happen later.
Oh, lucky me!
I should have sent you the Aquatine birthday thing.
No, it's all good. That's what I send to you.
Yeah, I guess that's your thing.
Yeah.
I typically like to send people, at least my close friends, the happy birthday from The Simpsons with the Ramones.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's
and
just what I do.
It was great, and it made me a little sad because I'm like, I miss the Ramones.
We all do, buddy. We all do.
But thank you, Vicky. That was. I love that.
No problem. Happy birthday, you old bastard.
Yeah, I am getting old.
Wait, no. Wait a second. Wait, but you'll always be 5 days older than me.
Yeah, so you got youth on your side.
Yeah.
5 days worth of it.
The power of youth. Oh God, we're like Guy and fucking what's his name? Shit, why can't I remember?
Cody.
No, Guy and the dude from Naruto.
Lee.
Yeah.
Lee, Guy and Lee. There we go.
Rock Lee.
Jesus.
Rock
Yeah.
the best ninja in that entire village.
Yeah, the only one with any actual cred.
Naruto,
Yeah.
you can't become a ninja without ninjutsu and genjutsu. Rock Lee laughs in taijutsu.
Laughs and punch kick.
Yeah, laughs in, hold on, stop, Mr. Bone Wizard. I have to drink my medicine, which is actually sake, and then just kick your ass with the power of Drunken Fist.
That dude got a really raw Kekkei Genkai though.
Who,
Bone
Kimimaru?
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, him. Yeah, that was a raw fucking deal, man.
No, that was actually a pretty cool power, I thought.
It's cool, but it fucking ended him. It's ultimately what killed him.
Well, no, wasn't it because he had that power, but also like a blood condition that messed with him every time he used it?
The blood condition was the power.
No.
Yeah.
I thought there was like another thing that he went to Orochimaru to cure so that he could be fine, and then Orochimaru couldn't cure it, and that's why Orochimaru decided to take Sasuke instead of him as his vessel.
It's like
A blood condition? What is this? Dead Man Wonderland?
I mean, it's like imagine being
A few
like,
years
imagine-
before that, buddy.
imagine being like Wolverine, but it sucks even harder.
Yeah, you're Wolverine, but it's painful to use your claws.
I mean, it's already
Wasn't it
painful
already?
for him.
Yeah,
it's already
it is.
painful for him.
It's
yeah.
already painful, but you don't get cool metal out of it either.
Mm-hmm.
And your bone claws suck ass. This
No, that
dude
dude's
just-
powers were great.
Oh no,
It
they were
sucked.
cool, but his life blew. His life
Oh
sucked.
Oh, it was terrible. Anyway,
Imagine
who's doing
you're-
the topic?
That would be me.
Yeah, about time.
Here we go.
All right.
Okay, so this was actually
We've
one of
been
my back
waiting
pocket.
for forever for this.
This is actually one of my back pocket topics because it's something I actually care about and plan on writing an actual full-fledged paper about at some point. So I'm sure this sounds horribly exciting so far.
Do you like K-pop too? You just didn't tell us.
You'd be surprised when my friends write
K-pop
academic
too,
papers.
Electric
I read them
Boogaloo.
for fun.
So we started off this podcast talking about how it's Resident Evil 3 Day.
Yeah.
This has a closer association with Resident Evil 4 than Resident Evil 3. In 2005, April 2005, and then later in May 2005 for the US, Capcom reused a lot of assets from a planned fourth, like a numbered sequel to Clock Tower, if you're familiar with Clock Tower, another survival horror game.
Is that the one where the pole doesn't to turn on the power?
No, that's Countdown Vampires.
Oh,
No, that's
Tino, thank you for reminding everyone about this.
Clock Tower is the one with the big scissors.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the one with Scissorman. So with the fucking Scissorman there.
It's the one where if you don't look out the window, the person who gets killed actually survives for some reason.
Yes. You can't perceive death and something. Yeah. Don't perceive death. It's fine.
You don't
Anyway,
die if there's no witnesses to it. That's the lesson.
quantum dying.
If a bitch dies in a forest and no one's around to see, did she die?
No, Clock Tower says she doesn't.
Bingo.
But then you
Thank
gotta climb
Clock
up.
Tower.
Then you gotta climb up the rubble as Scissorman chases you, and then find a way to start the car. And sometimes he finds you in the haystack, and sometimes he doesn't.
Well, then tell Edward to calm down.
No.
But yeah, no. So in 2005, this game that was originally called Demento in Japan and I believe Europe, and was I believe localized. Yeah, it was localized as not as Clock Tower. Damn, as Haunting Ground in the U.S. in May 2005. So that game was made. It was initially supposed to be the fourth entry in the Clock Tower series, and also reused assets for Resident Evil 4. It was made with some of those leftover assets, rather, and it became its own independent survival horror game by Capcom. I wouldn't say it did particularly well, and it's like $dollars now. However, because I'm old, and video rental stores were still a thing when I was a teenager, I had the opportunity to play and beat this game that made me very unhappy and uncomfortable when I was just a child.
Also, real quick,
Sure.
Tino, bleep the price that Vicky said for the game, because if I show up with that game one day, I don't want Natalie to know.
What is
Natalie-
it with you guys and buying absurdly expensive games?
They're fine!
I don't do that. That's Will. I don't buy expensive games.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Yes, you
Natalie
do.
will end up being your chaser and trying to kill you.
I mean, look.
I buy expensive K-pop
Now,
sometimes.
hold on, real quick,
Yes.
Vicky. Point of reference,
Yes.
because I know there's Haunting Ground and there's another game like along the same lines that it often gets confused with. Is Haunting Ground the one where she gets the dog that can help her?
Yes.
Okay.
His name is Huey. He's a white German Shepherd, and he's a good boy.
Yeah, that's all right. Just so I know which
No.
one you're talking about.
I think the one it gets confused with is Rule of Rose, or am I?
Yeah.
That's Orphan Murder, the game.
Yes.
Oh, no.
No. Justified orphan murder.
Debatable depending on the ending you get.
Somehow
True.
that sounds even worse.
Some of those bitches had it coming.
I mean,
They had it
look,
coming.
Like the
I don't know how
Romanian
you went
twins
from an
Black
orphanage to an airship in the sky, but I'm sure it's all right.
Boy, wait till we talk about Clock Tower 3. It's just like, oh no, I'm being chased.
Oh, forget
I'm
about
a magical girl now.
Yeah, and not only that, but then we could get to the unofficial Clock Tower 4, which is called Night Cry. Oh, you didn't hear about that? All right, real quick, Vicky, just let me steal like 30 seconds. The guy who made the original Clock Tower, when he left Capcom, he started his own project, and I only know about this because I've been rewatching Matt and Pat's Shitstorm of Scariness, and they played this. But he made Night Cry, where you get chased by the Scissor Man, but he's called the Scissor Walker this time, and you're on like a cruise ship.
Oh, that's insane.
Yeah.
I like the sound of it though. Ooh.
I mean, we could try to play it at some point in the near future. I think it's on Steam, so.
The Scissor Walker. Red carpets hate him.
Well, we need to
Only
figure out
if
what our next Let's Play is going to be.
Yeah, well, we'll
Oh, it's
figure out.
obviously gonna be Landstalker. Not really. It's not gonna be Landstalker.
Well, whoever is picking the game, because Tino and I have picked so far, so you three got to figure out among yourselves. All right.
I volunteer for tribute.
Okay. So, Vicky, you think of the next game and you propose it. And then.
Oh, I have it.
Oh, what game is that?
Metroid Fusion.
Okay.
Ooh.
Damn. Okay. Damn. So we
Metroid
throwing
Fusion
it.
is a great pick.
No idea.
Thank you.
Who are we feeding to the SAS?
We don't find out until we start playing the goddamn game like we always do.
Fair enough.
Bingo.
I don't know. You guys told me ahead of time that I was playing Resident Evil.
We did?
Yeah.
No, we didn't.
Yes, you did.
Yeah,
We
No,
have,
I
have
think-
the video.
no, I
I have
think-
the video proof.
I think you knew that I was gonna pick you, but I
Yeah.
don't think I told you. Anyway, I'm sorry.
We did the random pick for our Swan Song.
Yeah,
I think
but
we
that's
did.
because I
Remember
literally
that?
brought a D4 with me.
I think we
Right.
also did it for Resident Evil, but enough of that. I'm stealing Vicky's time. Vicky, go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, you're fine. I'm just saying, whoever gets this, I learn how to shine spark. 2, what do you know? It's a Metroid survival horror game. Anyway,
I think Metroid Dread is also in that category.
Yeah, Metroid
I haven't
Dread.
played it
is a
yet, and I'm
newer
dying
game.
to.
I
still
literally have a
haven't
copy right here for you, babe.
I think Fusion is a better choice, though. I do like
I appreciate
Metroid Dread a lot, though. But I think Fusion is a better
Well,
choice.
yeah, we need to. Fusion's like a prerequisite for Dread. So,
I
Vicky,
think so, too.
Thank you. God, where was I? Oh, yeah, no. So, so this game, I couldn't tell you how it did financially. All I know is that it's, Haunting Ground that is turbo fucking rare now. In certain respects, it is your standard issue survival horror game. You play the person, you're in a bad situation, you try to get out of the bad situation. You're essentially helpless.
Of course.
But what I find unique about it is, like, is anybody here familiar with, like, Giallo films?
Yes!
Giallo? I've never
Sorry, I didn't mean to get that
No.
excited, but,
No, go ahead, Will. I'd like to hear your thoughts about Giallo films.
So, I was aware of them for, like, years, but, like, I wasn't... For some reason, I just didn't know the exact niche of horror they were in. And then the way that I really became aware of them was about... at some point last year, after Resident Evil 8 came out, I was, while I was playing Resident Evil 8, I also saw a video from the YouTube channel Residents of Evil, and they compared Donna Beneviento's house and a lot of different themes throughout Resident Evil to Giallo horror. And one of the big themes is how, like, in Giallo horror, there's, like, generally, like, a killer who's, like, you don't know his identity. He wears, like, the trilby hat, the trench coat, gloves, usually a mask, and, like, they made a lot of references to, like, Mr. X. But, like, I've started going through and actually watching some Giallo horror. The last one I watched was probably, like, 4 or 5 months ago, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's, like, this girl goes to a school of, like, dance, and there's, like, witches there, and, like, her roommate dies, like, very early on, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. There's one scene where there's, like, a dude walking through, like, this big, empty Roman space, and, like, his own dog kills him somehow.
Yeah, no, so those are wild.
Yeah, they're great, though.
Yeah, I love them.
Oh, we gotta have a movie night, you and me.
Yeah. I agree. So, so it has that take, and the thing particularly about this that I feel like there are some, like, things, like, touched on it in Giallo films is it's very uniquely female horror. Not saying that all the victims are women, of course, but a lot of just the way like things occur in, like, those films, like, it's very, like, it's very, I don't want to say realistic, but somewhat realistic, like female horror. Bad shit is gonna happen to you, and that actually happens in, like, a lot of things, like slasher films, like, it's like The Last Girl and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And
the final girl trope.
Yeah, exactly. Final girl, thank you.
It's all right.
Starting this game off, you play as a character, I want to say she's like 18, 19 years old, university student. Her name is Fiona Belli, Italian last name. Hey, Giallo films. You are home from university for a little while. Like, one of the first things you see is you get into a car accident with your parents. They're dead. They fucking ate it. They ate the road. They're dead. Mm-hmm. And a mysterious man with the trilby and the trench coat and his face obscured rips open the door, looks at you, and presumably brings you into the mansion that you spend basically all the game in. And
then he tells you that his name is Dario Argento.
Not too far off. So basically, the point of this, you find yourself in a horribly compromising situation. You, as Fiona, find yourself literally in a cage, which isn't locked, with only a bed sheet to cover you up. And there's a dog, I believe he's chained up nearby you, or he's in there, he's in the same room as you. And so you start exploring the castle. You can feel yourself being watched. Like, the actual game itself takes these beautiful, like, very artistic, very movie-like shots, like certain angles. Hell to play through, which I fucking hate as a kid, but I can appreciate now as an adult.
So this is third person with set angles in the same way that Resident Evil is?
Yes, very much
okay.
So.
You
no
said
tank controls to my knowledge.
No tank controls?
That I remember.
Okay. That was going to be my next question.
You just gotta walk, and sometimes you'll just turn around randomly and walk into a wall because of the wonky camera controls, though.
Well, didn't they take kind of like a cue from the first Outbreak game in terms of the controls for that game? Because I remember Outbreak, at least the first one, it wasn't tank controls, it just seemed like it.
I mean, I think the last time I played Outbreak was... Oh, God. I don't even remember. I remember hating Outbreak's controls, though, so I couldn't tell you, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But, you had, like, fairly, like, free movement. The camera just wasn't really a thing. So a good portion of the game, like, you feel like you're being watched, like, for the beginning part, and, like, nothing's technically chasing you yet. You go into a bedroom, and there's clothes laid out for you, and a painting of this creepy old dude. You can feel it staring at you. You come to find out that, you're in this place, and it's called Belly Castle. As in your last name, Castle. Purple-haired maid comes in. She says, oh, yeah, I laid out these clothes for you at the behest of my master, etc. Go get changed. Clothes are very tight-fitting, which you'd think would be, like, a red flag, but they still fit her. Essentially, like, she spends this game, like, looking, like, attractive or, like, something very much, like, it's clearly meant for the male gaze, but she had this thrust upon her. She didn't choose these clothes. She just put them on because her clothes were probably, like, again, presumably ruined in the car accident, blood and that.
Two quick things. Is that the outfit where it's, like, it's obviously meant to make her look more attractive, but it's not necessarily, like, sexualizing her? It's more like a classical attractiveness?
It's a very short skirt.
All right, I forgot about the length of the... Yeah, I forgot about the length of the skirt, but I remember, like, this... Not like, in terms of showing skin, I meant more in terms of, like, the style. Like, isn't it trying to be, like, kind of...
In certain regards, like, again, like, it's very tightly fitting, though the top, at least, is conservative.
Right. And then, the maid you mentioned, is that the one who... Actually, you know what? I don't know if me saying this would be a spoiler, so I'm going to let you go ahead, and if you don't say it, I'll ask it.
I mean, you can certainly ask again. Like, does anybody like have anything against like having a game from 2005 that's also like $600+ now spoiled for them?
I don't think I'm gonna go out and buy it.
I will go over each of the chasers if you'd like. I will go over each of the chasers, absolutely. But if you had a specific question about Daniela,
yeah, because I remember playing this back in high school, and I think at one point I owned a copy, but it got lost to time. I don't know where the hell it is. I know it's not in my house because I looked everywhere for it. But the maid, if I'm remembering correctly, and I might be thinking of another game. Is the maid like one of the people who like attacks you at some point, but there's certain times where you'll enter a room and you'll see her there and you'll get freaked out, but she's like doing a chore, so she ignores you entirely?
Yeah, she's just cooking.
Yeah.
You just walk in.
Yep.
Yeah, that's her.
I'm remembering so much about this game now. I love it.
Oh, good. Okay, good. So yeah, eventually, like to make a long story short, there's a lot of puzzle solving in this game. You are chased by technically four people, although that gets weird later on. So with Haunting Ground, you just go through the game as usual, like until the chasing starts. Your first chaser is Debilitus. He is a literal homunculus. And he's generally, like, he mistakes you for a giant doll, objectifying you, thinking that you're a doll, probably, like, obviously not intentionally, but you look just like one of his little, like, bisque dolls that he has. And he tries to play with you like you're a regular doll, not understanding that you're your own living sentient being, and that he's traumatizing you. And trauma's a great thing in this game. Like, did you know that there is a panic meter? You don't see the panic meter, but your screen absolutely starts freaking the fuck out, and it starts getting really hard to control Fiona when she thinks that she's on the brink of death.
That's actually a brilliant mechanic, because that's true to life. The higher your level of panic is, the more difficult it is to be rational and coordinate yourself.
Reminds me of Eternal Darkness. They had like a similar system, like the sanity meter.
There's sanity mechanic.
Isn't there?
There's a detail you're forgetting to mention about Debilitus, dear, namely that he's like 8 feet tall and gigantically strong.
Yeah,
Buddy's big as hell.
Yeah, he's like the Incredible Hulk, in a sense. But what you were saying about the panic meter, you also, I don't know if you were going to get to this, so the thing where if you're panicked, you can't hide.
Yes, you absolutely cannot hide when you are panicked, just like in Clock Tower 3, actually. And you can literally have a heart attack and die if your panic goes too high.
Oh, wow.
Wow, 15 years before Disco Elysium.
Yeah, and chasing isn't the only thing that builds the meter. In one of the early areas, you could just be walking around minding your own fucking business. You see blood on a pillar, you lose your shit. Fiona having a really bad time in this place. These like little will-o-wisp things, these blue things floating through the air, they can set off your panic meter too. I unfortunately, I should have researched this because it's been probably a decade since I played this. But these little blue will-o'-the-wisp things like alert your chasers too where you are as well, and it completely like just ups your panic meter.
Oh no!
So there's a lot of stuff trying to take your ass down.
So it's a game that will literally scare your character to death.
Yes, you can literally be scared to death. Also, there's a lot of trial and error involved in this game. There are trap rooms where if you step on something, you don't know it, darts come out of the wall and you just instantly die.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't have gone for that gold idol.
Is there a gold idol section?
You hate to see it.
How many unique death animations does Fiona get?
Oh, too fucking many. But they all end with this terrible sound. It's your clothes ripping, and you start hearing sounds like blood just squelching. And the whole thing, like the screen says Acta est fabula, which means I think the play is over, or the play is done, or something along those lines. And that's, once again, hey, Giallo films, what's up? You can only imagine the horrible things happening to Fiona's body. And everything in that castle is trying to violate you in one way or another. You're minding your own business, you're trying to get a key for the next room. You hear some guy, who turns out to be one of the main antagonists to one of your chasers, whose power is gun. His power is gun. It's not smashy, it's not squishy, it's gun. You're minding your own business, and he essentially screams down to you from high up, and you still don't see his face. You belong to me. You're mine. Here, pull back the sheet on that thing on the couch. You pull the sheet off. It's a literal carving, like a life-sized, like a my-sized Barbie doll fucking version of you, but pregnant.
When did he have time to carve that between the car accident and Fiona waking up?
You were looking for that key for a while, man. Sorry.
Okay.
He has a very sharp knife.
God. But
she touches it. It's just wood-colored butter.
She touched it and no, she didn't touch it. She was looking at it in horror and disgust. He's like, "Go ahead, you can touch it if you want," mocking her, daring her to do something about it because she can't. This is a helpless woman who is alone with a bunch of strangers who are trying to do one thing or another to her. So your first chaser, Debilitus, you have the option. Sorry, we're cycling back to him. I'll get back to this motherfucker in a minute. But going back to Debilitus, ultimately a harmless dude. Like, he doesn't actually actively want to kill you. He just thinks you're a doll. He had no concept or understanding that you were your own living being trying to live their life and get help until you choose to spare his life, forcing him to empathize with you. You showed him kindness. He allied himself with you to a degree by presenting you the key to the castle when you didn't kill him. You just dropped a chandelier on him. He's fine. Don't worry about it.
Very Phantom of the Opera.
It happens.
Yeah, no, sometimes you just gotta drop a chandelier on someone to get the point through.
Sometimes
the next chaser...
Sounds like you get multiple points through.
Yes.
Ow. It was a fancy-ass chandelier, too. You hate to see it.
Yeah, you sure do.
The next chaser is Daniela, who is the aforementioned maid. You usually just see her just fucking around, like, I'm gonna cook this, oh, I'm sweeping this, oh, I'm just setting the table. And she's just like, you know what? I hate your ass. I hate your ass on principle of your existence. Why do you get to be complete when I don't? What she's referring to is the fact that she's regularly abused by the castle's actual master, like has their shit slapped in. But she takes it in stride because she can't feel pain or pleasure, which she makes very clear to you. She insults you and envies you simultaneously because you can provide what the master of the castle is looking for. You're able to carry children. She can't. She calls herself an incomplete woman. She's not real to, like, herself and to the castle's perception of her. Because she can't bear children, she's not a real person to them. And it's fucking terrible, and she hates herself. It even gives her like some serious, what I perceive to be body dysmorphia, because anytime she passes like a piece of glass or a mirror, she freaks her shit out. She has to stop. This is a great way to trap her, by the way. She just breaks the fucking mirror because she can't stand seeing herself, giving you an opportunity to run away. Or even, you know, like stall her, run away. But she does use a piece of glass to try to like just take you out. She like walks around with a handful bleeding. Like she's not doing great.
So the best way to get away from her is to go to a carnival and go in the funhouse.
She would have a complete fucking mental breakdown.
Just be scrubbing all those mirrors.
And she just looked at it like, nope, I hate me. I hate how I look, and I hate the fact that people actually desire you because you can do this stuff. So she's definitely not okay. She's not all there, even though she is actually like just conventionally, just like she's conventionally beautiful, even though her hair's purple. So
purple is beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely best color. After you take her out, and you have no choice but to kill her, unfortunately. You have to kill this one. You can't spare her like you did to Bilitis. So once dealing with Daniela and her body dysmorphia and hatred of the fact that she can't carry children, and it dehumanizes her to the rest of the castle, you come across, I believe it was Ricardo, which was the guy who was taunting you about trying to force you into pregnancy. Why he's doing this is because, spoiler alert, so Fiona's dad and the guys in this castle, like, well, two of the guys, I'll get back to them, are clones.
I thought you were going to say they were in a bowling league together.
I mean, it's pretty close. I mean, there are a lot of heads rolling depending on the death you get.
Like just a degree of separation there.
Yeah, just a separation from the neck mostly. But
yes.
But so you get to this son of a bitch. Again, his power is gun, so he's chasing you. Oh, I'm very sorry. I wanted to point out, it's very important, like, they each get their own theme songs when they're chasing you. So, Daniela's theme was Something Lacking. Shows how internalized her hate is.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, back to Ricardo. This dude is absurd. When he takes his, when he makes his face visible, he has the exact same face as your father. And he starts talking about, it's like, yeah, no, we're clones. We're all clones. And I wanted to kill your dad. Turns out he caused the car accident. I killed your dad so I can get this thing called the Azoth, which is something that you possess, which is mentioned a few times throughout the game. I thought it passed on to him and I could take it from him, but no, I'm not going to actually take it from you. However, I am going to use it to make a line of clones from my line of clones and not from my brother's line of clones, because fuck that guy. My clone genetics are better. And
his numbers were larger.
Yes.
So what? Fiona's carrying the founding titan? Is that what's going on here?
In some ways, you're not completely wrong.
Yeah.
But yes, it's called the Azoth, and it's how the clone line just keeps going. There's a bunch of like alchemical references in this. Like, in order to actually solve a puzzle, you have to go to the typewriter that has like a metal bar in it and type in meth or MF and put it in the golem a couple rooms over, and so that he either crumbles or he just moves out of the way. And there's also another weird one that you can put in that I don't remember what it was, but it causes him to do some sort of little dance, and then he just kind of either dissolves or fucks off. So, game's weird. But,
yeah.
Yeah, no, and there's also ways you can set traps with, items. Like, you can put magnesium down and it explodes. Like, because once again, you are mostly helpless until you get Huey, who I will absolutely bring up. I did not forget about the best boy. He is a good boy. He is the Hachiko. He's great. So, what's it called? Where was I? So yeah, no, Ricardo basically says he's going to force you to carry his line of clones and there's nothing you can do to stop him. But the good boy made sure that didn't happen. Good dog.
Mm-hmm.
Then you gotta deal with Lorenzo, who was the guy who's the mastermind behind it all, and he's just some old dude in a wheelchair. Sometimes he's crawling, sometimes he's okay, and he just T-poses and comes down from the ceiling because the PlayStation couldn't handle getting this motherfucker to load in properly to chase you.
I think you can actually find some videos of that online, and it's hysterical to just see him coming down.
Burning building, and he's like...
He looks like
guy...
he's waiting for Vince McMahon to announce his appearance in the ring.
If some guy came down from the sky T-posing in front of a burning building, I'd be scared too. I'd start running.
Oh, he T-posed into the burning building.
That's even worse.
I want to loop onto something Will said, because here's the thing. Yeah, no, a guy coming down, T-posing from the sky, something Vince McMahon will love. Vince McMahon would also love the fucking incest angle that this game's hinting at.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not shitting you. He tried to do multiple incest angles while he was running WWE.
Oh, I thought.
And on that note, yes. I'll be right back, because I need another beer.
There is a lot of incest in this game, because, again... that your uncle is technically also your dad because your dad was a clone of, I believe, Lorenzo. So they're all the same dude, and they're all trying to get you knocked up because they see you as nothing other than a fucking breeding station for clones. And
yeah,
it's
Will's
fucking
right.
horrifying.
I need another beer too.
Yeah, no,
T-posing down from the heavens.
And originally, Ricardo tried to present himself as somebody who was going to help you. I forgot to mention that part, but again, it's going based off of a 10-year-old memory. But yeah, no, he presented himself as somebody who you could trust, but then he actually just got super creepy and made everything weird, because of course he did. And yeah, no, Lorenzo T-posed in. At this point in the game, this is actually my personal experience. I stopped being afraid of the chasers near the end of the Ricardo chase. I was getting fucking annoyed. Like, at one point, Lorenzo was crawling around on the floor trying to, like, grab my ankles, like, come on! And I'm like, ew, get away, you little ankle biter! And I just start stomping him, because you can actually stomp. You don't have a lot of attacks, but you can stomp, I believe. And, sick Huey on him. It's like, I'm not dealing with this. I just want to get out of the burning-ass mansion. I'm just leaving. So, again, like, wasn't horribly eventful with, Lorenzo, but he was basically the mastermind behind this too, and I believe were they all cloned from was it like Aurelius Belli, I think. Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy in particular. So yeah,
So what is their goal? Is it just to like continue the family dynasty or something?
It's to keep their magical bullshit going, I believe.
So it's passed down genetically.
The Azoth. Yeah, the Azoth is passed down. The one line was jealous because they didn't get the Azoth. Meanwhile, Fiona's dad got the Azoth.
Keep it in the family,
was
know
like,
what I'm saying?
Yeah. Fiona's dad was like, I'm really tired of being in this nightmare mansion of bullshit.
And he went and found a nice lady. And they had a kid. And shit went south for her real quick. But yeah, no, so their ultimate goal, I guess.
Man, I was making a joke before,
assholes.
But this really is kind of Attack on Titan a little bit.
Yeah, don't go into the Belly Mansion basement.
Oh, no.
But so now that the whole premise of the game is out there, cool mechanics like the hiding thing. You can't hide in the same place too many times, or they'll catch on eventually. They're not that stupid. As Will mentioned before, can't hide while panicked, which is really cool. Alchemical substances are used, and again, one of their big things is alchemy. So alchemical substances are used to like slow them down or heal you. The whole place is booby trapped. This place sucks. This place really sucks, especially for you. The game also has multiple endings. I actually don't remember all of them. I got the good ending, which I guess would be like the Silent Hill 2 Leave ending equivalent. She's just like,
this is a Japanese game, correct?
Yes.
Then of course it has multiple endings.
So, I think there's something, and I don't know if you talked about in depth everything you wanted to talk about with Huey yet.
Not yet. But yeah.
But going back as far as Debilitus goes, isn't there an ending where like if you know what? I'll let you talk about Huey and then I'll discuss this.
Oh, I mean, only for sure.
Yeah. I think it would make more sense if you discuss the details of Huey first, and I don't want to steal your thunder.
Sure. Thank you. But, you know, Huey, he is great. You don't have him, like, for all of the first act. You get him, like, halfway through. You already saw him escape the same room that you started out in. You find him chained to a tree later, so he was chained there because, I think it was Ricardo. It could have been... the other asshole, Lorenzo. It could have been one of them, but they've been draining creatures of their Azoth. It's not the Azoth, but Azoth is life force. It's like the life force that they need. And, so yeah, they've been draining creatures of their Azoth. Huey was going to be one of the victims, but, Fiona, even though he was, like, a little bit not happy to see her, Fiona released Huey, and he eventually just tags along and starts helping you. You can have Huey, like, help you solve puzzles, get things that are in high to reach, like, or hard to reach places, distract or attack enemies. Huey is a very, very good boy. And you can show throughout the game by, like, I believe you can pet him, actually. You can pet the dog. Like, and praise him for being a good boy. You can also scold him, which I don't like very much. But yeah, he's such a good boy that, there's an ending where he leaves with you. There's also an ending where Huey is hurt in the woods and you can choose to ignore his cries for help. And he dies, which makes me very upset.
Well, you know, choices have consequences.
It kind of reminds me of like when you were talking about Stray and you said there was a part that got you really like anxious and upset because like there was a moment where the cat was in danger.
Yeah.
There are several moments where the cat's in danger, but there's only one where there's only two that happen that don't have your control. And with Huey, the one that I believe when you let him die, you do get the bad ending, which ends with you pregnant with Ricardo's child. So it's terrible. Yeah, no, there are bad things that happen in this fucking game.
But there's also...
So one question about this Azov thing. If all creatures supposedly have Azov, why do they need Fiona's so much? Is her Azov the very best? Like no one ever was?
I'm gonna assume that yes, it is. I can actually double check that because it's weird that they could drain other creatures of their Azoth, but the specific Azoth that she has, I don't know how to explain it.
Well, wasn't it because
it's a Philosopher's Stone?
Yeah, it's there. She's
it's
related
like
to them.
It's Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah, it's the family's Azoth.
Ah.
Yeah, so if you take the Azoth of like a family member or something, it's like way more potent.
Yeah, hers is way more potent, so that's why she's targeted by everyone. She has, like, the super Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah. Like, the Elric brothers are hunting her even at this point.
She's got the good shit.
And so is Voldemort.
Jesus, yeah. No, it's... Because I like that... The one thing I really liked about the Huey system, and you mentioned it, and I'm happy about this, is that, like, there's actually a way to end the game early. When you're still dealing with Debilitus. Like, I don't know if you've gotten this ending. I haven't ever gotten it personally. I only found out about it, like, over the past couple years, like, watching replays of this. Where I think, like, if you're really kind to Huey, and you're also kind to Debilitus somehow, he just lets you out of the castle.
Yeah, he just gives you the key, I think, and just lets you out. Or like...
Yeah, and you're like, deuces, motherfucker, and then, like, Lorenzo's just there, like, no, I can't have my incest Azoth.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. No, I didn't get that ending, but I did get the leave ending, basically, again.
Well, and he lacks the ability to chase her?
You know, you just gotta stay in there. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
I mean, look,
Look, I'm sorry,
house arrest is very
Shake your
serious.
I can't leave after 9 p.m.
Yes.
The corpse of
Smithers
my
My
mother
will
said
one
fucking-
so.
father will yell at me.
It's too dark
Diane?
outside.
Yeah, man, you can't you gotta stay in your evil castle if you're gonna lit yourself by a horrible nightmare incest.
I mean,
That
It's a
whole
good
game
thing we're
was a
not
nightmare.
monetized because we'd be getting demonetized for this.
Yeah, look, man, don't worry about it.
I'm actually
yeah, we're
about to
not
make
there
it-
yet.
I'm actually
Oh, we
about
got
to make it.
demonetized? You hate to see it.
I'm actually about to make
you
it
do.
significantly worse, by the way.
Oh,
Do
great.
So,
It's okay, we're not being monetized, so it's fine.
so we were talking about, Aurelius Belli. By the way, Lorenzo is the same person as Aurelius Belli. Aurelius Lorenzo Belli. So, he's the big magic man who needs the Azoth for his nefarious bullshit. Yeah, no, so it has, this game made me, relating more, well, first, does anybody have any questions about gameplay or anything before I go into my perceptions and feelings about the game?
I mean, this
The
sounds
only
like the
thing I
gameplay
really
mechanics. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The gameplay mechanics sound like they're pretty similar to Resident Evil, minus tank controls.
Yeah, no gun except for Ricardo, and,
So, that's something that once Vicky's done, I kind of want to touch on because there's something that, I've thought about this game for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But, Vicky, go ahead.
So I'm gonna go into my personal feelings about this game. So I mentioned before that I rented it from a movie rental place when I would have been maybe 15 at the time. I forgot when I was born. Anyway, so I rented it from that place. I also beat it about 10 years ago because someone who I knew had a actual physical copy of the game as well before it spiked severely in price. And I played it and beat it then too. So that's the memory that I'm going based off of partially. But my initial perception of the game, I didn't like it at first. This game made me really uncomfortable, and I couldn't quite put my finger on why, but it was a really familiar, just creeping feeling. It's like you have eyes on you all the time, and you know that these people don't have good intentions for you. You feel helpless. You feel scared. You think somebody's an ally, but they're not. They're going to straight up just gun you down because I'm Ricardo fucking Belli. I really hate that guy.
In a way, it sounds more horrifying than something like Resident Evil because it's more grounded in something that people could more plausibly experience rather than zombies chasing you. It's, hey, there's people trying to rape you.
Exactly. That's the big scary part. That's what made me so uncomfortable with this game. I didn't have that nice little thin veneer of fantasy to protect me. This is far too fucking real. As somebody who's experienced stalkings and assault and all of that stuff, this game only with time has gotten more legitimately terrifying. I know back on the Halloween podcast from last year, I know that the only things that really scare me are things that could plausibly happen.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up.
Yeah.
The stuff that we find scary is things that could actually happen to us.
That's why PSAs terrify the living shit out of me.
Yeah, no, PSAs suck. Especially if you've seen that one channel on YouTube. Oh God, what's it called?
Hello, I'm a pizza.
Local. What is it? Local 58.
Local 58. Oh, we'll get into that another
That's
time.
terrifying. I
His
fucking love
throne.
that. Yes.
His throne.
Yes,
I don't
Dave,
know.
the moon. I know it's the moon. But playing it more and more as time went on, I hated the game at first because I couldn't put on why I didn't like it, and it's because I can't speak for every woman, but you start getting objectified so young. I remember my first objectification at 7.
Ugh.
It's maybe even 6, but I'm gonna
Yikes.
round it out to 7, and you become so hyper aware of everything going on around you, especially if you're in a position, which I regularly was, of people not noticing or people just being unable or unwilling to help you. And Fiona not being able to just get a fucking wooden board with a nail in it, woman. Jesus, how hard is that? But I guess, I don't know, mansion made of stone, but that feeling of helplessness, like knowing that people only see you as this object to fulfill their needs, and the end to their means, or sorry, no, the means to their end, rather, the means to their end. It's just uniquely fucking terrifying, and you have to rely on two creatures who you've shown empathy to help you. That you have to be kind to them in order for them to help you, instead of being just treated like a human being. And that's one of the most horrifying fucking things ever.
Yeah, the way you've described it, it does kind of sound like in order to win, you're not like involved in like combat or beating the crap out of stuff, are you? Or are you?
Not really. You need to use puzzles to save yourself. So
puzzles or Huey.
Or Huey, yeah. So, with, again, with Debilitus, you can choose to not kill him. I believe, you just had to just drop a chandelier on the guy. Unfortunately, you did have to get, Daniela killed, and for that you had to, make her, not move just long enough so that the glass that from the ceiling breaks and shatters. I believe it was a skylight in the room, has to come down and stab her, and that's the only way you can kill her. A lot of people it's mostly just puzzle based ways to kill. You're not I believe, what was her name? Alyssa from Clock Tower 3, who turned on Maho Shoujo or whatever and pulled out a fucking magical bow and arrow and used her magical bow and arrow gat to take people out.
Yeah, she could go made the entire enemy cast in that game.
Yeah, I mean the point is this isn't Claire Redfield or Jill Valentine where you just start blasting. It's more
she's just a first essentially harmless and really unable to defend herself woman in a castle full of people trying to destroy her.
So Tino, she's not even Moira Burton. She's literally she's basically, and this is kind of the weird thing about it, is that Fiona Belli is essentially, I heard someone at one point say that when you play Haunting Ground, you're essentially playing Resident Evil 4 if you were playing as Ashley instead of Leon.
Yeah.
Where it's you are defenseless, and granted, there's that one section in RE4 where you do play as Ashley and she can throw lamps at people, but she doesn't have a weapon. She has to rely on the environment around her to protect herself, and otherwise she gets scared as hell. She has to run away from everything.
Yeah, you're playing as the escort mission person who's being escorted.
Ah, yes, okay.
Yeah,
so
Huey's basically Leon.
Yeah.
It's funny you bring that up because design-wise, it is clear. Design-wise, both in terms of when this would have historically been made, and also if you just look at Fiona Belli's design, she's proto-Ashley.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm sorry, go ahead, dear.
No, go ahead. You're good.
And Capcom was clearly testing some things with Haunting Ground that ended up later in Resident Evil.
And
kind of the other
that's
way
also
around.
how you got Devil May Cry.
Oh, yeah.
So...
yeah, leftover assets.
So, not only that, but, from what I've heard over the years, apparently, and by the way, I noticed this as well, quick aside, I think I accidentally plugged my webcam into a USB 2 port instead of a USB 3 because I'm seeing occasional flicker. I'll have that fixed for next time. Sorry, guys. Steve, you hate to see it.
Get a new webcam.
It's a new one. I plugged it into the wrong USB. Shut up.
Get a new Cerebrum.
Get a new brain. I don't have a brain.
Yeah,
I just took it out so it wouldn't get wet.
Yeah, Steve, you're a big piss baby.
Do what now?
Do what now?
Pop the balloon of the all right, yeah. But I heard a while ago that Fiona was actually the prototype Ashley Graham from Resident Evil 4 at one point. And obviously they changed things up, and it seems like the prototype made it into her own game. And I think earlier it was you, Vicky, that said this game had interesting critical reception because it didn't do well. A lot of people didn't like it at first. And you mentioned like a lot of the feelings of like, powerlessness. And over the past several years, like, because I've replayed Resident Evil 4 and I've watched plays of Haunting Ground because I don't own it anymore, I've kind of thought about, like, why did people hate this game, which is actually pretty brilliant and a lot of fun, despite the very dark themes in it. And I realize exactly what the problem is. To some extent, I kind of blame the bad reception to Haunting Ground on the fact that, like you said, like, this game came out in North America May 10th, 2005. Well, on January 11th, so about 4 months before, pretty much, January 11th, 2005, Resident Evil 4 came out. And anyone who really knew Capcom games knew the Resident Evil series. Like, you could have been a fan of Capcom before Resident Evil, but Resident Evil was where most people really got into Capcom games. And there was kind of a feeling of powerlessness in like 1, 2, and 3 in Code Veronica. But you still had weapons. You could still fight. You were still kind of badass. Didn't matter if you were Chris, Jill, Claire, Leon, Carlos. Didn't matter. You could fight. So when you play Resident Evil 4, which came out just 4 months earlier, you're playing as Leon, who's had 6 years of government training. He's a badass. He's suplexing guards in the castle. He gets an entire variety of weapons. He's like, making quips and being a smartass to Salazar. You're playing cool guy Leon, basically, right? Like, no one can stop him, and he's fighting people like Krauser and Sadler, who becomes a giant spider. And you go from that, and then if your next game after Resident Evil 4 was Haunting Ground, you've been playing Resident Evil 4 for 4 months, because the game was amazing. You want to replay it to max out all the weapons and unlock, like, the hand cannon and all that stuff. So when you get to Haunting Ground, you're no longer tough, cool guy Leon. You're basically playing as Ashley, who, in Resident Evil 4, everyone found to be kind of annoying because of how helpless she was. But now you don't hear, like, Leon, help! Now you're seeing someone who's actually terrified and not just nagging the guy protecting her. You don't have the option to, like, upgrade your weapons and, like, beat the boss. If you lose, you don't just get killed and, start over at the checkpoint. Like Vicky said, your clothes get torn. You hear it. And you have the abject terror of wondering, what are they going to do to me other than just kill me? And I think the reason why a lot of people kind of hated on this game is because they did not like the idea of feeling powerless in that way.
And that's unfortunately something very real that a lot of women in the real world face. I completely agree with you. Like, looking at the release dates, that's a very good point. And they hate her for her helplessness. They hate being put in the role of the oppressed person. I mean, she even sees a woman hooked up to an incubation machine in the game. I'm not sure if it's a kidnapped woman or like a homunculus or something, but she's just like, oh god, if I don't get out of here, that's me. Oh shit.
Well,
that reminds me of something that came out around the same time. Did any of you ever see the Battlestar Galactica remake that came out like around 2004, 2005? There's an episode where Starbuck is captured by the Cylons and they're trying to like reproduce, and like she encounters like an entire room full of that exact thing and has to get out of there while still trying to recover from surgery scars because they removed one of her ovaries. So yeah, it sounds very much like that. I guess that idea was making the rounds in the creative world at the time.
How about this theory as well, though? And I don't mean to diminish the points that Vicky was making, but Resident Evil 4 came out on GameCube, right? It was an exclusive at the time.
Yeah. At the time, I have it on PS2 though.
So the Haunting Ground came out on PlayStation 2, and it's possible that not everyone played Resident Evil 4 because they didn't have a GameCube.
Right.
And they got this experience, and they're like, well, I just don't like this for whatever reason.
They felt
like,
shafted.
They felt shafted, or I don't know. I mean, because a lot of hold on, let me finish. So
sure, sorry.
The big fans of the Resident Evil franchise probably felt pretty hurt by them moving to GameCube, because some people were just very loyal PlayStation fans. They had a PlayStation 1, they bought PlayStation 2. I was that person, although I did own a GameCube as well, just because I was a big gamer at the time. But I think that people saw this game and were like, hey, maybe it'll be like another kind of Resident Evil game to fill in the gap, because I don't have a GameCube and I can't play Resident Evil 4 yet. And they got this totally different experience, and it wasn't what they wanted. But it's just like an alternative perspective. I do feel that Vicky's viewpoint on it is very valid, and I think very plausible.
Thank you, and I also agree. Yours it's actually probably like a mix of them. But well, were you going to say something, or?
Oh no, the pushback I was going to give to Steve's theory, and not that I think he's wrong necessarily, but two things. I know that, like, as someone who had a GameCube first, I also wanted to play like some of the other games that were coming out.
Kingdom Hearts.
And I ended up getting a PS2. Just because I'm like,
one second, you can keep going.
Yeah. But the other thing too is that Cat
baby.
Oh, look, Steve has his own Huey to protect him.
Sid was trying to drink out of my cup, but like he literally can't because his face is too fat.
Yeah!
He wouldn't be able to reach the water.
Oh Lord, he's coming.
But yeah, Lord, here come that shock.
So, like the other thing about it too, though, is that like even let's say that you're absolutely right, Steve. Like if someone had like the PS1, they went right to the PS2, and they never had like cool guy Leon Kennedy and RE4 to play with until eventually that came out on PS2, but that's neither here nor there because that's not what we're talking about. Assuming your scenario to be the case, they still had Jill Valentine in Resident Evil 1, Claire Redfield in Resident Evil 2, Jill Valentine in Resident Evil 3, and Claire Redfield in Code Veronica, who were all badass Resident Evil ladies who could handle themselves. And they also had, on PS2, the first Outbreak game where Cindy, Alyssa, and Yoko, the three women in that game, you know, they could have easily been helpless maidens, but no, in their personalities, they're still pretty assertive. They're still like scared, but they're able to figure out ways to contribute and fight back. Them being women in the Resident Evil games didn't make them weak. They were still able to be really good protagonists. And I think the fact that Fiona is someone who, and Vicky mentioned this as one of the mechanics, you could set traps as Fiona. Yeah, that's, I think that plays into the idea of like when women are scared of someone, doing something horrible to them, they have to use their wits about them. But if you look
between the knuckles.
Yeah, but that's the other thing. Haunting Ground, if we're using Haunting Ground as an analogy to like some of the problems that women face, just in terms of society and potential sexual assault, women have two options. They either use their wits, as in Fiona setting traps, or they have to appeal to someone else to protect them, like Fiona has to do with Huey. And that's what I think, it puts you as a player in an incredibly vulnerable spot. And especially back in like the mid 2000s, I could see there being like a lot of guys who played this game who like just, oh, I don't like this. I don't get to suplex the cultist. What the fuck is it? Like,
Just suplex debilitus. Oh.
Dude, I can't tell you how many times I laughed in Resident Evil 4 when I would go behind one of the guys holding the shield and the ball and chain weapon, and I would suplex him like all cool guy, and then just get up and start like shooting people with the shotgun. I felt really powerful. It was a good like power fantasy.
I will also say that Fiona, I don't know how she plays, but she was also in Tatsunoko vs. Capcom.
I mean, I'm hoping she has a Huey super.
I hope so too.
Well, I think one of the things that kind of feeds into this is the expectations involved and why people play games. Like, there are plenty of people who will play games because it's a power fantasy. Case in point, Final Fantasy VII. You're Cloud Strife. You get to swing around a sword that's bigger than you are and use magic and chew through enemies, no matter what member of the party you are. Even Aerith, who's mostly a spellcaster, you can still chew through enemies. And that's a very different kind of game than, say, Life is Strange, where you can make choices and rewind time, but like you're not like some sort of you're not Master Chief. You're just a teenager at a magnet school. I think what happened with people not liking this game was they saw a survival horror movie, a survival horror game made by Capcom, and made some assumptions about what it was going to be.
Yeah, well, that was my. I mean, I think that was my original point. Was they had an expectation.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
they didn't get what they wanted. Yeah, but I do think that when it comes to video games in general, I think the overwhelming majority of reason why people play video games is it's a means of escape. Life is hard. We all know that. And to be able to get away from it all and live a life that you're not actively a part of is very nice. It's definitely one of the reasons why I play video games, and for a game to show the horrors of, not being in control, like Vicky said, it's not an enjoyable experience. Some people just don't want to have that experience, for a means of entertainment, I would say.
Yeah, because it's not an escape.
That's actually where I was. Because, sorry about that. I also want to cycle back to your thing about Cloud, definitely. But no, I get exactly where you're coming from, Steve, and that's actually initially why I feel like I hated the game initially. First, I'm just like, it's like, I don't like the way that the camera is panning along her lower body and the fact that they're touching her there. This game makes me uncomfortable, and it couldn't see why it made me so uncomfortable and why I didn't like it. It's not because the game is bad, because the game's not bad. The game got too fucking real.
Right.
I was about to say that exact thing.
But upon further reflection, you found an appreciation for it.
Yeah, after I lived through a lot of shit in life and just had time to mull over what the game was subtly trying to tell me. What it was subtly or not so subtly trying to tell me. It actually kind of was like a light bulb for me, and I'm like, I wasn't supposed to enjoy this experience. I was supposed to empathize with Fiona. I was supposed to try to put myself in the shoes of somebody who's been victimized and is just doing everything they can to stay alive, even though she's not very strong. She's not very fast. She's just some little 18-year-old goober who's coming back on a college break. She's just some schmuck. But she has a right to live as she sees fit. She has a right to exist. She didn't ask for any of this. I'm going to tie Cloud into this, actually, because, you did bring up Cloud. Cloud is physically strong, but that doesn't stop him from feeling pain. Not just physically, obviously, but also emotional pain. Cloud very clearly has some form of PTSD.
Oh yeah, he's
broken. Of course.
He's broken. I meant a power fantasy in the physical sense. He's still a well-written character, even though he can mow down hordes of enemies.
Yes,
his emotional vulnerability is why he's a well-written character, despite his superhuman, almost clownish ability to kill people.
Vicky starts this thing.
Sorry. I'm actually agree with you, and I'm actually getting to that exactly. People love Cloud, or at least they seem to think they love Cloud. People think he's great because look at how he's overcome the trauma he's experienced to be who he is now. You see Cloud healing throughout certain things. After Final Fantasy VII came out, we got Advent Children. What is Cloud's state of mind in Advent Children? He's not doing great. He was getting a little bit close to the goofy goober personality that he had before, like the fun, happy Cloud, not the sad, brooding, I'm proto-squall Cloud, because
he had that geostigma stuff, and he's like, we're all going to die anyway, it don't matter.
Exactly.
So
So Cloud returned to a state of depression because getting out of depression isn't easy, like you will relapse. But a lot of people's portrayals of Cloud that I've seen, like whether it's in like, you know, like in some of the actual, like in the games, even after Final Fantasy VII, or in like the way they describe him or depict him in various fan works, he's still brooding. He's not a goofy goober. And that's how people come to like see Cloud. They don't see him as silly. They see him as this poor stoic bastard. Even though he's trying to overcome his trauma, they only know him for his trauma. And they only can think of him in his trauma, which makes processing trauma and trying to get through trauma so difficult. And Fiona's going to be... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was going to say, because basically they associate trauma with just being the integral you. They don't see it as like something afflicting you. They see it as who you are, as opposed to something that's affecting you.
Exactly. And like, you are not your trauma. You were a person before your trauma. You're still a person after it. You're just a person who's been traumatized. And it makes it really hard for people who have been traumatized to move past their trauma, because you even get these inner thoughts. Speaking for myself and others who I have spoken to about trauma, like they're worried that people won't like them anymore because they're a different person than who they were like during their trauma. They're like, I'm healed now. What if they don't like me? What if they only liked me for who they thought I was and not for who I am?
I mean, that's kind of the same. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but it's kind of the same thing that you see in like Berserk, like with like what Guts and Casca go through. Like it really, it's you know, again, Guts is kind of like a Cloud power fantasy in a way, but when you read the manga and see everything he goes through, like trauma is there. Like before Miura died, like there was a lot of indication that the big arc would be, is he going to choose to let go of his trauma and live the happy life that he seems to be living, or is he going to give into it and seek out revenge, as is like the power fantasy, and lose everything that he enjoys in the process?
That's actually what I...
Oh,
sorry, go ahead.
Guts is the most incredible, strongest fantasy character in fiction, and nobody wants to be Guts, because the most memorable moments of Guts are the saddest moments.
Like the eclipse.
I'm not even talking about the eclipse. Like, there's a scene towards the latter half, or on the boat, where there's just this beautiful render of Guts is out of the berserker armor, and he's covered in bandages because the armor pierces his skin, and he's just sitting sadly looking at the moon. And it's one of the most powerful and evocative images in the manga.
That's the famous shot where you could clearly see he's missing a hand, right?
Yep.
Yeah. It's...
Vicky brought up Advent Children, and I wanted to say something to that because so Kingdom Hearts was my introduction to Cloud, and then I kind of got like a proper introduction to Cloud with Advent Children, because I didn't own a PS1, so I never played the original Final Fantasy. So like I had to watch Advent Children like 4 times before I understood what was going on. But you know, that was my own fault. But
that's okay, because I had to watch it 4 times and I played Final Fantasy VII.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
All right. So it wasn't just me. That's a little bit of a relief. But so even though I first got to know Cloud in his trauma, I still didn't like, because he was like very, very mopey in Kingdom Hearts as well. I still didn't see him and his trauma as one and the same, because at the end of Advent Children, you finally start to see him heal a little bit. And he heals in a really powerful and really cathartic way, as he's finally able to let his own past mistakes go and forgive himself. And it's powerful in such a way that like I've gone through depression many times, and usually one of the things that helps me heal from it is actually watching Advent Children. Like it's like Advent Children is what it feels like to be depressed and then start to get better. And all of that to say that my point is that you know, Vicky was right. A character is not their trauma.
It's just it's just sometimes difficult to get through trauma and depression because there's not a cure for depression. Unfortunately, it's something you have to learn to live with or work around. And unfortunately, those Sephiroth clones, like, they triggered something in Cloud, unfortunately, as well as the geostigma, and he was already not doing great, and that caused some sort of relapse. So getting rid of the source of his trigger definitely helped him. But
ultimately, Cloud's trauma was he was experimented on, right? That's we're all in agreement that that's pretty much what it was.
And his friend's dying in front of him, saying that you're my living legacy. That's got to fuck you up a little bit, because then he tried to take on that personality.
And then also your town getting burned down in front of you.
I think Mako torture is pretty bad.
Realizing that he never tried to date his like really hot childhood friend, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the big trauma. But the thing is, like, cycling back to what Will said about power fantasies and relating it back to Haunting Ground, there is no power fantasy. There's no power. Yeah. You just have trauma laid bare. You have terror laid bare, and not everybody can take that.
Yeah, and that actually brings me to something that I wanted to ask you, Vicky. Guys,
Sure.
I want Vicky to be the one to answer this because she's the one presenting the topic. And honestly, this is something where, like, I thought I had, like, a pretty nice history with this game because of, like, playing it and all that stuff. But, yeah, I could see, like, Vicky's, like, leagues above me in that regard. So I want to ask her, considering the themes that we've touched on here, and granted, there's, like, a lot of heavy shit that we talked about tonight. And I don't mean to trivialize it by categorizing that way, but it's the quickest way I can. All the themes we've talked about, do you think that not a remake, but like a re-release or a remaster of Haunting Ground in the current day, all things considered, because we've seen things like, #MeToo, the stuff with Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein. There's a lot of stuff still going on where it's like, not that I'm not saying like, oh, it was acceptable 20 years ago, but I think a lot more people either ignored it or like they didn't care as much. And over time, I think like society tries to address problems more and more, however flawed or perfect their response is. Do you think that if this game were re-released, not remade, but re-released as it is in the current day, do you think that critical reception for it would be a lot more positive? Or do you think people would be saying like, oh, this is problematic, she's helpless, she can't do this? Like, what do you think, all things considered, people would react to this game now that it's not in the shadow of like, for lack of a better term, cool, tough guy Leon?
I think that this game, especially considering all like, of like the indie games or like the Telltale games, I think considering like everything that's come out since then, I think that this game would be received very well, and in no small part to it being what I'd consider a masterclass in feminine horror. I think that would do quite well.
I think as in 2005, it would depend on who's reacting to it. Because, like, I imagine there would be some people who would be, like, kind of upset because, like, our female hero isn't empowered enough and isn't mowing through enemies like some sort of some kind of a super soldier. On the other hand, I think people who actually like are able to put some sort of sophisticated thought into it, like Will or Vicky, would be like, oh, wait a second, this is actually brilliant. So because I think there's a lot of, ever since Twitter, we kind of have had a culture of hot takes, clickbaity hot takes. So I imagine that this kind of thing would generate no small amount of controversy, and people would start fighting over it. Because what don't people fight over anymore?
I mean, I think it's easier to have these hard discussions with a little bit of lightheartedness, and the Undertale, I think, it's a perfect example of that. I feel that a game like this, I don't think it would be well received just because of how serious it is. I don't think we're really that kind of culture anymore. I don't think.
True.
So,
I think it would be. Sorry.
No, after you.
I think that the game would sell well. I mean, I will say that regardless of all the subject matter, I think it would be a critical darling if released now, because because a lot of words and ink has been spilled about Haunting Ground, and you cannot have a piece exist in a vacuum when it has technically existed for 17 years.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 17 years worth of writing and discussion about it in hindsight. Also, the mystique of being the $600 game would sell that re-release very well.
Yup, probably, yeah.
Also, every Let's Player on Earth doing the $600 game.
I also wanted to say something like regarding something Sino said. I'm sorry if I'm cutting anybody off. You're right. It doesn't fulfill the power fantasy of being the strong, badass chick trope that's become so popular. Because, I mean, let's face it, she's not very strong. But also consider, if you will, aliens, even Ripley. And this is actually a very similar space premise, actually. So, Ripley, she was put in a really bad position. She was made to be vulnerable, and I'm pretty sure we can all guess about the chest bursters and what they're analogous to. The fact that Ripley had to deal with all that, and even though she was a badass space chick, and still had to deal with that, even though that fulfilled the power fantasy, she was still put in a vulnerable position. So I'll say that not everybody, I feel like it's like a writer's fallacy to always make strong badass chick and claim that you have a strong female character. I think having a weak female character who's trying her hardest and using her wits is just as valid as the strong chick who can gun good. And honestly, I think if Ripley is at one end of the spectrum, I'd probably put Fiona maybe not on the complete opposite end of her, but she
crosses the median line.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, so Vicky, I agree with you completely. My point is that, and this is just a personal observation. Maybe it's disproved by things that I haven't seen or heard about, but I'm just saying that it seems to be the trend nowadays that when writers are trying to write a female protagonist, they have to make her not only they have to make her better at everything than any possible male counterpart, and they think that that's what makes a strong female character. I'm comparing Fiona to basically
Black Widow.
Not even Black Widow,
She-Hulk and Megan Thee Stallion,
like She-Hulk, like Captain Marvel, or even Silmarillion Galadriel to Rings of Power Galadriel. It's like I guess my point is, I agree with you. You can write a female character in a way that that is not demeaning to women, while at the same time does not make her some sort of a Mary Sue.
Yes, that's actually what I wanted to talk about.
The point that I was trying to make was that I think that there would be a lot of hot takes from people who have kind of been force-fed all of these Mary Sues, and they're like, why is she so helpless? This is anti-woman. Yeah, that kind of thing. That's what I think would happen, but it would still develop a cult following of people who didn't have this sort of visceral programmed reaction. Am I making sense?
I'm sorry. I just want to say I agree with you. I just wanted to agree with you, but I also want to add on. That's actually part of what I wanted to get to. I see where you're coming from completely, and I agree. The fact that you brought up she has to be better than everyone else at it, lending her to Sueism, it's actually funny because there's certain things that end up ingrained in you. Maybe not always necessarily with me, but I've also had this happen with friends of mine. Compensation is a huge issue in women and in people of color. I've been told this personally by friends of mine. If you are a woman or a girl, or if you're a person of color, you are conditioned early on sometimes, again, not always, so I'm not speaking for everyone, but this is what my friends have told me, and it's apparently quite a common experience. You're conditioned to be told that you have to be twice as good as whoever, like, the most abundant, like, a person, like, whether it's men, white people, etc. Like, you're conditioned to be twice as good as them so that you can be accepted as equal to them.
Right, and then you end up with this terrible burden that weighs you down more than it otherwise might.
You're not allowed to just exist and be a woman or a person of color. You have to, like, in order for you to get any respect, you have to be Yo-Yo Ma. Exactly.
Be
you
the
have
exemplary.
you have to be Yo-Yo Ma. You have to be literally a president. You have, this is the equivalent of needing a college degree to flip a burger.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, two things I want to add in real quick. One is somewhat tangential. Tino, as for Twitter hot takes, anyone who reads anything from CBR, Spencer Connolly is a douche. He's an author there, and he'll write something like, "There's a reason why Goku can't be a god. Oh, because it's because he said he'd be bored." It's like, shut up. You're just doing clickbaity articles.
He literally is. That's how he's making his rent.
Yeah, and I hate him for it.
Womp.
I hope he gets fired.
Hey man, he's making his bread. I can't fault him for making his bread. I just will not contribute
I wish
to
fire ants on his butthole.
Yeah, me too. That's a spicy take.
You guys are making me glad I'm not on Twitter because this sounds like a horrible time.
Yeah, pretty much is.
Oh, it sucks.
So Vicky,
I'm not on Twitter.
There's something interesting that everything you mentioned that I wanted to bring up. There is something I remember seeing from years ago and wondering how the hell someone could have this kind of take. For anyone who's played The Last of Us, the first one, where Joel has to protect Ellie throughout the wasteland to get to the Fireflies. There's a scene where he is separated from Ellie and she's being attacked and she can't rely on him to protect her. And Ellie's like this 14-year-old girl. And she has to fight herself and she ends up killing the guy who attacks her. And when Joel finally shows up, she's killed her attacker. She didn't know it was going to happen to her. And she was pretty badass doing it. Like, I think she, like, if I'm remembering this correctly, because it's been like almost a decade since I played this game, she stabs the living shit out of him. Like, she literally butchers him. And then when Joel shows up, she has this initial moment where she's just breathing heavy. And then she, like, kind of collapses and cries while falling into his arms. And someone had the take of, like, you ruined her strong moment by having her need to rely on a man for comfort. And I'm sitting there like, it's not that she has to rely on a man for comfort. She's a kid. She's not used to having to be strong. She had to be in this case because she didn't know what the hell was going to happen to her. But the second she realized she didn't have to be strong anymore because she was safe, that's when it overwhelmed her. Like, I thought that was like a great scene of like empowerment in a way, because it's like, look, here's the kid who's done nothing but complain the entire trip, and she's showing, yeah, she's learning and becoming capable, but because, like, she has a breakdown because she just killed someone for the first time in her life, all of a sudden now she's weak. It's like how, you know, you mentioned Ripley from Alien and Aliens. Like, in those movies, she's not, like, the best fighter. But especially in Aliens, when she's learning from Hicks, like, how to actually, like, use firearms and protect herself, you see her throughout the course of the movie, she gets better. And it's amazing to watch. It's the growth that just, you know, exemplifies exactly what it means to be strong as a character, regardless of whatever your demographics are. I think growth is the trait that really shows that you're a strong character in a way. And it's weird in a way because throughout Haunting Ground, it looks like Fiona shows that as well. Maybe not to the same degree.
Nah,
but it's still there, even if it's to a much lesser degree. And it's weird that people don't seem to really enjoy that or like it.
And I actually gotta...
sorry.
This is gonna be like a really like long strain. So if you want to say something really quick, sorry.
Well, all I'm gonna say is that the person whose hot take about that scene has a fundamental misunderstanding, because that's not actually supposed to be a scene of strength. It's a scene of trauma. Ellie performs a brutal act of violence to preserve her own life for the first time, and of course she cries in Joel's arms afterwards. She just killed a guy. That is the loss of innocence. Literally, It's a standard writing trope that has existed for longer than the people who made that game have been alive.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm an adult. I'm sure if I killed somebody, I'd probably have a breakdown afterwards as well. Like, it's not a question of, like, it's not even a weakness thing. It's like oh, wait, something has been lost that can never get back.
Exactly, and I haven't killed anyone. I'm going to say this, prefacing this, I have not killed anyone. But,
oh, thanks. I was wondering if you hadn't said anything.
I'm going to need you to sign a
legal
waiver.
statement. She hasn't killed anybody.
All that time working at Wawa in Philadelphia, you never know.
But being strong, having to proceed, being, here's a bunch of words for you: strong, mature, like those types of words. I'm sure kids of all ages hear of them, like young kids, boys and girls probably. Being told that you're mature for your age, that just means that you've experienced more trauma than the standard person for your age group has. Being strong is a burden. Personally speaking, I was far too strong for far too long. I internalized a lot of stuff. I dealt with a lot of pain that I don't know if I could have avoided or not. I don't like trying to think about like whether or not I could have changed anything. But if you're strong for too long, a lot of things happen to you, a lot of bad things. You start becoming numb to abuse and pain. You start like getting like really short-tempered too, because anger's an emotion. It's one hell of an emotion. You feel, after a while, you start just feeling your emotions shut off, and you start shutting down, and you start feeling like a shell of who you are as a person. Being able to finally let go, having to take all of that all the time. You're gonna cry. You're gonna show emotion. Showing emotion is the ultimate act of strength that any protagonist can take. So, yeah,
It's a release
of course
of
that little girl was gonna cry.
Yeah, it's a release of tension that you didn't know you had.
I'm fine,
We're about to
hon.
see a tender moment.
I'm fine.
Oh, that's sweet.
I'm fine. Talk shit about him while you can, guys. He's right here. He doesn't have headphones on. I'm kidding.
That's okay.
Thanks, hon.
Look, I talk about him when he can hear me, like when we finish the Resident Evil Let's Play.
But, yeah, no. Damn. But, there's a lot of pain, like, that, like, can build over time, and finally being able to release that pain and trauma is, I think the word's cathartic.
Yep, that's the word.
So, let yourself be weak. Give the game a shot.
Sounds like a good game. If I had dollars just laying around, I'd give it a try.
Tino, a favor. Can you just blur out that clothes pile that was on the camera for a second?
Sure. Maybe. I'll figure it out.
Guys, why are you
fine.
not
It's just
applauding
it's a
Vicky
lot.
at this point?
Yes.
Because quite frankly,
Thank you.
yeah, this was quite the I gotta admit, I didn't really expect the I figured when we were hitting Haunting Ground that we'd be touching on some juicy themes of the game. I didn't think we'd be going this deep, but goddamn, that was a great discussion. I loved it.
Thank you. She also gets a leather cowgirl outfit.
I mean, look. Yeah.
All
The
of
game's about trauma and sexualizing someone. Here's a leather cowgirl outfit.
Sexualizing siblings. You know what we call that in this business, son? We call that good shit. My name is Vince McMahon.
So, Vicky, I have to ask: is this outfit like something that's unlockable once you finish the game?
I think depending on the ending you get or what items you get in the game, it is an unlockable. There was no DLC back then.
He
wants to know if he can play it right now.
There was also a dominatrix outfit. We're not going to get into that.
Listen, Japan's weird. You accept this.
Okay.
Hold
The whole game is
on.
about a girl trying to get away from people
wait a
who are
minute.
sexualizing her.
Hey,
You
you
guys
gotta-
for doing
but-
that, you get to sexualize her.
But you gotta push those
God.
copies, which is why Mr. Morimoto said it's gotta be in there. I'm I'm Vince
gosh.
McMahon, and this is good shit.
Are you kidding? This is real?
It's real. It's real. And it's the stupidest shit I've ever seen.
For fuck's sake.
Do you love that deep discussion we had? And then I'm like, and to add some levity.
This is like okay, you know how like when you guys were in school, did you ever have like a firefighter come in to talk about like how to protect yourself during a fire and like fire prevention and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
This feels like if that firefighter came in and at the end of his speech started handing out lighter fluid.
Tino, I got a better one for you. Are you familiar with the actual real life anti-drug program known as DARE?
Oh, no.
I was the only one who listened to it.
Yeah, that's the point.
Let's not
All
go
DARE
down
has
that
did
route.
was tell kids that drugs were cool.
Damn it.
Apparently, they must have been using reverse psychology because that's not the message I walked away with. I was like, okay, if I have one cigarette, I'm going to die of lung cancer the next week.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the thing. They exaggerated too much. You want a good anti-drug program? Bring in a guy who's been on the shit, and he'll tell you. Yeah,
All
Well, we've had those too.
Tino. For when Vicky brings us up. Here we go. Just here we go. This is the image of all the unlockable costumes.
I like the frog the best.
I love the frog one.
The frog is the best one by far.
The frog is the most fucked up one.
Look,
when you think
here's
about
the thing. When you said dominatrix outfit, I thought that would be the worst one. Somehow it's tied with cowgirl.
Yeah, no, it's pretty bad.
Assless chap cowgirl.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Firefighter with lighter fluid. What else can I say?
I didn't
you know
unlock
what, at
these
this-
outfits, to be fair, by the way.
So at this juncture, I'm going to say just a few words because I after cowgirl and dominatrix outfit, I don't know how much longer I could go.
Yeah, we should wrap this up.
I'm very tired. I need to go to bed.
This being
sorry.
September 28th, first off, once again, happy Resident Evil 3 to everyone. Evan, Ray, shout out to you guys, the mercenary crew from back in the day. Because of what day it is and because October's just a few days away, stay tuned because on October 1st, you will hear the first episode of our 11-part Halloween special. It is a horror-themed release of videos brought to you by the Game Room Podcast. Hopefully everyone enjoys it. Does anyone else have any announcements they want to make?
You're listening to K-Rot, Philadelphia's most reliable news station.
There we go, Tino. You know your lines.
Yep.
Dave?
I would like to say make a shout out to George and Jamie. Congratulations. You guys know why.
I'm guessing kid or second kid.
That's something I wanted to say.
I was trying to conceal identities, but yes, they are having their second kid.
Well, like, don't try to conceal stuff when, like, you're publicly announcing it.
Yeah,
Congratulations,
really.
but I can't tell anyone
Yeah,
why.
congratulations for the thing I can't say, wink wink.
But yeah.
I don't have anything. I was gonna say like, never mind. I'm going to bed. I'm tired.
All right.
You know what? Yeah,
Vicky,
let's
how about
call
you?
it for tonight.
And,
Oh, by the way, Coolio's dead.
What?
Oh,
He died today.
What?
Oh.
Yeah.
okay.
Well, that's a fucked up way to end.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. Sorry. I heard about it like just a few minutes ago.
I'm having to look up who Coolio is.
Oh,
Yeah,
man, you are
goodness.
way too middle of nowhere, white America,
That's
to not know Coolio.
And I guess my shout out is to anybody who's not feeling great or wants, like, you know, like, is worried that they or one of their friends isn't feeling great. Give the National Suicide Hotline a call. Like, they have a short key now. It's 988. Your mental health is important. You're not your trauma. Just let me make sure it's 988 and I'm not talking out of my ass.
Also, this episode is not sponsored, but there's also things like BetterHelp.
Yep, Suicide and Crisis Hotline, 988. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and on top of that, aside from 988, if you need the hotline number, that would be the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline number is 1-888-237-8255. Again, that's 1-888-2... Or no, not 237. Jesus, I'm giving the wrong number. it's
They're calling Applebee's.
I know, really. It's
Sir,
one.
this is a Wendy's.
Yeah, it's for anyone who needs mental health help and you fear you might be at the edge. The number is 1-800-273-8255. So call that if you feel like you need it.
Yes, call that. Don't call the Wendy's.
Yes, we
Indeed.
We here at the Game Room Podcast want everyone to live a long, happy, healthy life.
And also, here, on a lighter note, here's an interesting media consumption order for anyone who's looking for something interesting to do while they wait for our next episode.
Is it Fuck Kingdom Hearts?
No, I'll get to that. Read the original source book of the tabletop RPG known as Cyberpunk, especially its most recent release, Cyberpunk Red. Watch the Trigger anime, Cyberpunk Edge Runners, and then play the video game Cyberpunk 2077, because that is the chronological and best order to consume those franchises in. Fuck Kingdom Hearts! Have a good night, America.
Is that the best order to consume it in, or, and don't lie to me or I'll know.
There we go.